Captain Velter pressed his 4 hands against the cold metal of his ship's control panel. The lights flickered above him, casting strange shadows across his mantis-like face. His compound eyes reflected the red warning lights that flashed throughout the bridge of the celestial dawn. "How much time do we have left?" he asked his engineer, a small blue creature named Zix, who was working frantically at her station. "Maybe 6 hours, Captain. The life support systems are failing fast. The oxygen levels are dropping and I cannot fix the main power core. It is too damaged." Velter looked around at his crew. They were all scientists, not soldiers. They had been carrying important research back to the Coalition headquarters when pirates attacked them 3 days ago. The pirates had damaged their ship badly before running away, leaving them to die slowly in the empty space between stars. "Any response to our distress signal?" Velter asked his communications officer, Glix. The slug-like creature shook his head sadly. "Nothing, Captain. We have been broadcasting for 3 days now. The Coalition ships are too far away. They will not reach us in time." Velter felt his heart sink. He was responsible for these people. More than that, he was responsible for the secret cargo they carried. Deep in the ship's storage base was a weapon that could destroy entire star systems. The Coalition military had built it in secret, and they were taking it to be locked away safely. If it fell into the wrong hands, billions could die. "Captain," Glix said quietly, "there is one option we have not tried." "What do you mean?" Glix's tentacles moved nervously. "The Sol system is only 2 days away. We could send a distress signal to the humans." The bridge went silent. Everyone knew about the humans. They were the violent species that the Coalition had banned from joining galactic civilization. The stories about them were terrible. They came from a death world where everything tried to kill them, and it had made them into killers themselves. "The humans are quarantined for good reason. They are dangerous. They cannot be trusted." "But Captain," Zix spoke up, "they are our only hope. No one else can reach us in time." Velter remembered the official reports about first contact with humans. A diplomatic meeting had gone wrong, and somehow the humans had destroyed an entire space station. The Coalition had decided that humans were too violent to be allowed to join galactic society. They had been locked away in their own star system for 50 years. "The humans might just take our ship and kill us all." "We are going to die anyway," Glix replied. "At least this way we have a chance." Velter looked at his dying crew. Zix was already showing signs of oxygen poisoning. Her blue skin was turning gray. 2 other crew members had collapsed at their stations. He had to make a choice. "Do it," he said finally. "Send the signal to the humans." Glix worked quickly at his station. "What should I tell them?" "Just our location and that we need help. Do not tell them who we are or what we carry." The message was simple: ship in distress. Life support failing, need immediate rescue. Velter watched as Glix sent it toward the Sol system. Then they waited. Hours passed. The air grew thinner. More crew members collapsed. Velter began to think they would die before anyone could reach them. Then Glix suddenly sat up straight. "Captain, I am getting a response. From the Coalition?" "No, sir, from a human ship. They say they are coming to help us." Velter felt a mix of relief and terror. Help was coming, but it was coming from the most dangerous species in the galaxy. "How long until they arrive?" "They say 4 hours. 4 hours, that is impossible. No ship can travel that fast." But Glix checked his instruments again. "Captain, I am detecting a ship approaching. It is moving at incredible speed. It should tear itself apart, but somehow it is not." Velter stared at the scanner display. A single ship was racing toward them through space at a speed that defied everything he knew about physics. The humans were coming, and they were coming fast. "What kind of ship is it?" "The signature is unlike anything in our databases. It is heavily armed, Captain, very heavily armed." Velter closed his eyes. He had called for help from the most violent species in the galaxy, and now they were coming. A human warship was racing toward them, and he had no idea what the humans would want in return for their help. "Prepare the crew," he said quietly. "We are about to meet the Deathworlders." The next few hours passed slowly. The human ship, which identified itself as the Iron Resolve, arrived exactly when they said it would. Velter watched through the viewport as the massive vessel approached. It was dark gray and covered in weapons. It looked like it was built for war, not rescue. "They are requesting permission to dock," Glix reported. Velter laughed bitterly. As if we have a choice, grant permission. The docking was smooth and professional, too professional for a species that was supposed to be barely civilized. Velter heard the airlock cycle and then heavy footsteps in the corridor outside the bridge. The door opened and the humans entered. They were tall and moved like predators. Their leader was a female with short dark hair and scars on her face. She wore armor that made her look like a mechanical monster. Behind her came more humans, all armed, all watching everything with sharp eyes. "I am Lieutenant Colonel Amy Brooks," the female said. Her voice was calm but somehow threatening. "We received your distress call. We are here to help." Velter tried to stand straight despite his fear. "I am Captain. Thank you for coming. My crew is dying." "We know," Brooks said. "Our medical team is already working on that. Dr. Grant will have your people stabilized within the hour." "How did you get here so fast?" Velter asked. Brooks smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "We have our ways. Now, Captain, we need to talk about your cargo." Velter's blood went cold. They knew. Somehow the humans already knew about the weapon. Velter stared at Lieutenant Colonel Brooks, his four hands trembling slightly. The human woman stood in the doorway of his bridge like a statue made of metal and violence. Her armor was black and silver, and he could see weapons attached to every part of it. Behind her, more humans spread through his ship with the smooth movements of hunting animals. "Your cargo," Brooks repeated, stepping closer to Velter. "We know you are carrying something important, something that made pirates attack a simple research vessel." "I do not know what you mean," Velter lied. "We are just scientists." Brooks tilted her head and studied him with cold, blue eyes. "Captain, my people are already scanning your ship. We can detect unusual energy signatures from your cargo bay. It would be better if you told us the truth now." Before Velter could answer, another human entered the bridge. This one was smaller than Brooks, with kind eyes and gentle movements. She carried a medical bag and looked at the collapsed crew members with concern. "I am Dr. Lisa Grant," she said. "I need to treat your people immediately. They are very sick." You want to help them?" Velter asked, confused. "Of course, that is why we came." Dr. Grant moved to where Zix lay unconscious at her station. The blue engineer was barely breathing. Grant pulled out a strange device and scanned Zix's body, then reached into her bag for what looked like an injection. "Wait," Velter said, stepping forward. "How do you know how to treat our people? You have never seen our species before." Dr. Grant looked up at him with a small smile. "We have studied many alien species, Captain. We know more about galactic biology than you think." She gave Zix the injection, and within seconds the engineer's color began to improve. Her breathing became stronger. Grant moved to the next crew member and repeated the process. "This is impossible," Velter whispered. "No one can work this fast. Your medicine should not work on us." "Human medicine is very adaptable," Grant said as she worked. "We have had to learn to treat many different types of wounds and illnesses on our world. Alien biology is just another challenge." While Dr. Grant worked on his crew, Velter heard strange sounds coming from other parts of his ship. Metal being cut, systems being repaired, machines running that had been broken for days. The humans were everywhere, working on things that should have taken weeks to fix. Brooks watched carefully. "My engineering team is making your ship safe to fly again. Chief Rodriguez is very good at fixing things that other people think cannot be fixed." "Why are you doing this?" Velter asked. "What do you want from us?" "We want to help," Brooks said simply. "But we also want honesty. Your ship was not attacked by normal pirates. Pirates do not damage life support systems. They want to steal cargo, not kill crews. Someone wanted to destroy your ship completely." Velter felt his heart's racing. The human was right. The attack had been strange. The pirates had focused on destroying the ship instead of stealing from it. "You are carrying something very dangerous," Brooks continued. "Something that someone wanted to make sure never reached its destination. We need to know what it is." Before Velter could answer, a new voice spoke from the doorway. "Colonel Brooks, we have a problem." A tall human male entered the bridge. He was older than the others, with gray hair and tired eyes. He wore a different uniform than the soldiers, and the way Brooks straightened when she saw him told Velter that this was someone important. "Captain Morrison," Brooks said, "what is the situation?" Morrison looked at Velter, then back at Brooks. "We have detected coalition ships approaching, 3 cruisers and a battleship. They will be here in 6 hours." "Are they coming to rescue us?" Velter asked hopefully. Morrison's expression was grim. "No, Captain, they are coming to destroy your ship. We intercepted their communications. They have orders to make sure your cargo never reaches Coalition headquarters." Velter felt the floor seem to move under his feet. "That is impossible. The Coalition sent us to transport the cargo. Why would they want to destroy it?" "Because," Morrison said quietly, "someone in the Coalition does not want this cargo to reach its destination. Someone powerful enough to order a battleship to destroy a research vessel and blame it on pirates." Brooks nodded. "Captain, we need to know exactly what you are carrying. Our scans show it as some kind of weapon, but we need details. If we are going to protect you from your own people, we need complete information." Velter looked around at his crew. Dr. Grant had finished treating them, and they were all sitting up looking much better. The human medical technology was amazing. In just an hour, she had saved lives that he thought were lost. "The weapon," he said slowly, "it is called a dimensional disruptor. It can collapse space itself. It could destroy an entire star system." Morrison and Brooks exchanged glances. "Who built it?" Morrison asked. "Coalition military scientists. They wanted it studied and then locked away safely. But now you say the Coalition wants to destroy it." "Not the Coalition," Morrison said. "Someone in the Coalition, someone who does not want this weapon to exist." A new sound filled the bridge. Velter's communication system was receiving a message. Glix, who was now awake thanks to Dr. Grant's treatment, checked the signal. "Captain," Glix said, his voice shaking. "It is from the Coalition fleet. They are ordering us to prepare to be boarded." Morrison smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Tell them you are being rescued by a human vessel. Tell them we are providing medical assistance." "They will demand that we surrender the cargo to them," Velter said. "Then we will have to disappoint them," Morrison replied. "Colonel Brooks, prepare the ship for departure. Chief Rodriguez, how much time do you need to finish repairs?" Brooks spoke into her communication device. "Rodriguez here, Captain. Give me 2 hours and this ship will fly better than it did when it was new." "You have 1 hour," Morrison said. "After that, we leave with or without complete repairs." Velter watched the humans work with amazing efficiency. They moved through his ship like they had built it themselves. They knew where everything was, how everything worked, and how to make it work better. "How do you know so much about our technology?" he asked Morrison. The human captain looked at him with those tired eyes. "We have had 50 years to study galactic civilization, Captain. 50 years of watching and learning while you thought we were locked away and forgotten. But the quarantine kept you in your system." "It kept us from leaving," Morrison said. "It did not keep us from listening to your communications, studying your technology, or learning everything we could about every species in the galaxy." Velter realized with growing horror that the humans had been preparing for this day for decades. They were not the primitive savages the Coalition believed them to be. They were something much more dangerous. They were ready. Captain Morrison walked through the corridors of the Celestial Dawn with Velter beside him. The alien captain was nervous, his 4 hands moving constantly as they headed toward the cargo bay. The sounds of human engineers working echoed through the ship. Sparks flew from repair work and the lights had stopped flickering for the first time in days. "Your people work very fast," Velter said, trying to make conversation. "We have to," Morrison replied. "On our world, if you work slowly, you die. We learn to be efficient." They reached the cargo bay where Chief Rodriguez was installing new power cables. The human engineer looked up from his work and nodded to Morrison. Rodriguez was a short, stocky man with grease on his hands and a smile on his face. "Almost done here, Captain," Rodriguez said. "This ship will run better than new when we finish. These alien power systems are actually pretty clever. With a few human improvements, they could be amazing." Morrison walked to the large metal container in the center of the bay. It was sealed with multiple locks and warning signs in several alien languages. "This is it," Velter nodded reluctantly. "The dimensional disruptor. It was built in secret by our best scientists. The Coalition wanted it transported to a secure facility for study." "And now someone wants it destroyed," Morrison said. "Open it." I do not have the codes." Morrison smiled slightly. "Chief Rodriguez, can you open this container without damaging what is inside?" Rodriguez walked over and examined the locks. "Sure thing, Captain. Give me 5 minutes." While Rodriguez worked, Morrison continued questioning. Tell me about this weapon. How does it work? It manipulates space itself, Velter explained. It creates a cascade failure in the fabric of reality. Everything within a certain area simply stops existing. How large an area? The scientist said it could destroy everything within a star system, maybe more. Rodriguez finished with the locks and stepped back. All yours, Captain. Morrison opened the container. Inside was a device about the size of a small table. It was made of silver metal and covered in strange symbols. Blue lights pulsed along its surface in complex patterns. Interesting, Morrison said, studying the weapon. Dr. White, please come to the cargo bay. A few minutes later, a woman in a white lab coat arrived. Dr. Karen White was tall and thin with short blonde hair and sharp green eyes. She looked at the weapon with the same expression she might use to examine an interesting rock. What do you think, Doctor? Morrison asked. Dr. White walked around the device, scanning it with a handheld instrument. Elegantly designed, she said finally, but fundamentally flawed. Velter stared at her. Flawed, this weapon could destroy star systems. Once, Dr. White said, still examining the device. It could fire once, maybe twice if you were lucky. Then it would overload and explode, probably taking the ship with it. That is impossible. Our best scientists built this. Dr. White looked up at him with a patient expression. Your scientists understood the theory, but they did not understand the practical applications. This device would create a feedback loop after the first use. The dimensional stress would be too much for these components to handle. She pointed to several parts of the weapon. See these power conduits? They are made from standard galactic alloys. Those alloys cannot handle the energy output this weapon would generate. And this targeting system, it has no compensation for quantum fluctuations. The weapon would tear itself apart trying to maintain a stable dimensional breach. Velter felt sick. You are saying the weapon would kill us if we tried to use it. Almost certainly, Dr. White confirmed. It is a doomsday device that would doom its operators first. Morrison nodded as if he had expected this. Doctor, could this weapon be fixed? Oh, easily, Dr. White said casually. Replace the power conduits with quantum-stable materials, add proper quantum compensation to the targeting system, and install better cooling systems to handle the energy output. With the right modifications, you could make this weapon portable and reusable. The casual way she discussed improving the weapon terrified Velter. How do you know so much about dimensional manipulation? Dr. White smiled. We have been working on similar projects for decades. This design is actually quite primitive compared to what we have developed. You have dimensional weapons, Velter whispered. We have many things, Morrison said. The question is what we do with them. Before Velter could ask more questions, Brooks' voice came over the communication system. Captain, the Coalition fleet has arrived. They are demanding we surrender the alien vessel immediately. Morrison activated his communicator. Tell them we are providing humanitarian assistance. We will transfer the rescued crew to them when medical treatment is complete. They say they want to board the alien ship to inspect the cargo. Tell them the cargo was damaged in the pirate attack. There is nothing left to inspect. Velter looked at Morrison with confusion, but the weapon is right here. Is it? Morrison asked. He nodded to Dr. White, who began disconnecting components from the weapon. Dr. White, how long to completely disassemble this device? 10 minutes, she replied. Already working. Should I document the design specifications? Of course, full technical analysis. We want to understand exactly how it was supposed to work. Velter watched in horror as the humans took apart the weapon that had cost the Coalition years of research and billions of credits to develop. Dr. White worked with practiced efficiency, cataloging each component as she removed it. You are stealing it, Velter said. We are documenting a damaged device, Morrison corrected. When the Coalition representatives arrive, they will find the remains of a weapon that was destroyed during the pirate attack. We will give them all the pieces, but we will have the specifications. We will have complete technical documentation. Yes, that is what humans do. We learn from everything we encounter. Rodriguez finished his work on the ship systems and joined them in the cargo bay. Ship is ready, Captain. New power core installed, life support upgraded, and engines running at 120% of original capacity. 120%? Velter asked. Your people built good ships, Rodriguez explained. But they built them safe. We build them efficient. A little bit of controlled danger makes everything work better. Morrison's communicator crackled again. Captain, Admiral Keithmore is demanding to speak with you directly. Put him through. The voice that came through the communicator was deep and angry. Human vessel, this is Admiral Keithmore of the Coalition Navy. You are interfering with Coalition business. Withdraw immediately. Admiral, Morrison replied calmly. We responded to a distress call. We have provided medical assistance and emergency repairs. We are prepared to transfer the rescued crew to your vessels. We demand to inspect the cargo. There is no cargo, Admiral. Only the debris of equipment damaged during the pirate attack. There was a long pause. Then you will allow us to board your vessel. Morrison looked at Brooks, who had just entered the cargo bay. She shook her head slightly. I am afraid that is not possible, Morrison said. Human vessels are sovereign territory. However, you are welcome to inspect the rescued ship once we transfer it to your custody. This is your final warning, human. Withdraw or face the consequences. Morrison looked around at his crew. Dr. White had finished disassembling the weapon and was packing the components into storage containers. Rodriguez was grinning like he was enjoying himself. Brooks was checking her weapons. Admiral, Morrison said into the communicator, we will complete our humanitarian mission and then withdraw. The rescued crew and their repaired vessel will be transferred to you within the hour. He turned off the communicator and looked at Velter. Captain, you have a choice to make. You can go with the Coalition fleet and report that your cargo was destroyed in the pirate attack, or you can come with us and see what humans do with dimensional weapons. Velter stared at him. What are you offering? Truth, Morrison said simply. The truth about what happened to your ship, who really ordered the attack, and why someone in the Coalition wanted this weapon destroyed. And if I stay with the Coalition, then you will probably die in an unfortunate accident within a few days. Someone wanted this weapon gone badly enough to sacrifice a research ship. They will not want witnesses. Velter looked at his crew, who were listening to the conversation with growing fear. They had trusted the Coalition their entire lives, but now humans were telling them that their own government wanted them dead. I need time to think, Velter said. You have 30 minutes, Morrison replied. Then we leave with or without you. Velter made his choice. 25 minutes later, he stood in the docking bay of the Iron Resolve with his entire crew. They had decided to trust the humans, though none of them could explain why. Perhaps it was because the humans had saved their lives when their own people wanted them dead. The Iron Resolve was unlike any ship Velter had ever seen. The corridors were wide and built for war. Weapons were mounted at every intersection. The crew moved with military precision, but they were not cruel. Several humans had offered food and water to the alien refugees. Captain Morrison led them to a conference room with a large table and comfortable chairs. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps and tactical displays. Velter noticed that the screens showed Coalition fleet positions that should have been classified information. Please sit, Morrison said, gesturing to the chairs. We have much to discuss. Before anyone could sit down, the ship's communication system activated. Captain Morrison, Admiral Keithmore is requesting permission to come aboard. Morrison smiled. Of course, full diplomatic honors. Velter was confused. You are going to let him board your ship. Why not? He is welcome to visit. 20 minutes later, Admiral Keithmore entered the conference room. He was a Zenthari, tall and proud, with purple skin and 6 arms. His uniform was covered with medals, and he carried himself like a being who had never been defeated in battle. Behind him came 2 guards in full combat armor. Captain Morrison, the Admiral said in his deep voice, I demand you return the stolen Coalition property immediately. Morrison stood up and gestured to a chair. Admiral, please sit. Would you like some coffee? It is a human drink, quite good. Keithmore remained standing. I am not here for refreshments. Return the dimensional weapon. I am afraid I do not know what you mean, Morrison said calmly. We found no weapons on the damaged research vessel, only some broken equipment that was destroyed in the pirate attack. You lie. Our sensors detected the weapon's energy signature. Morrison poured himself a cup of coffee from a pot on the table. Sensors can be wrong, Admiral. Perhaps you detected the ship's damaged power core. Dr. White found it quite interesting. Dr. White looked up from her tablet. The power core was fascinating, very advanced design. I learned quite a lot from studying it before it finally collapsed. Admiral Keithmore's 6 arms twitched with anger. Captain Morrison, do not play games with me. The Coalition Navy has surrounded your ship. You cannot escape. Morrison walked to the large window and looked out at the Coalition fleet. Velter counted 12 ships, including the massive battleship that served as the Admiral's flagship. The Iron Resolve was surrounded completely. Impressive, Morrison said, sipping his coffee. 12 ships, that is almost half of the Coalition's 3rd fleet. How do you know the composition of our fleet? Keithmore demanded. Morrison turned back to the Admiral with a slight smile. We know many things, Admiral. For example, we know that your flagship, the Righteous Victory, has a structural weakness in its port engine section. A single missile in the right place would disable the entire ship. Keithmore stepped forward angrily. Are you threatening me? Not at all. I am simply making conversation. We also know that the cruiser Silent Thunder has faulty shield generators. They will fail after taking moderate damage. The destroyer Fast Strike has ammunition problems. Half their missiles will not fire properly. The Admiral's purple skin grew darker with rage. How could you possibly know these things? Morrison sat down at the table and gestured again for the Admiral to join him. This time Keithmore sat down, but his guards remained standing. Admiral, Morrison said, how long do you think we have been watching you? Watching us? Dr. White looked up from her tablet again. We have been monitoring Coalition communications for 47 years, 4 months, and 16 days. Every message, every fleet movement, every technical specification. It is all quite interesting. Morrison nodded. We know that you were not sent here to rescue Captain Velter and his crew. You were sent to destroy them. The orders came from Coalition Command 3 days ago, signed by General Thexvar himself. Velter gasped. General Thexvar was one of the most powerful beings in the Coalition military. That is impossible. The General sent us on this mission. No, Morrison said gently. General Thexvar sent you to transport the weapon, but someone else ordered your ship destroyed. Someone who knew about the weapon and wanted it gone. Admiral Keithmore was staring at Morrison with growing horror. You have been reading our classified communications for 50 years. Longer than that, actually, Dr. White said. We started monitoring galactic communications before first contact. We wanted to understand what we were dealing with. Morrison reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. He placed it on the table and activated it. A holographic display appeared showing detailed technical specifications for every ship in the Coalition fleet. This is the complete technical manual for your flagship, Morrison said. Engine specifications, weapon systems, shield frequencies, crew layouts, everything. He pressed another button, and the display changed to show the cruiser Silent Thunder. Here are the shield generator problems I mentioned. The frequency modulation system has a flaw that causes cascade failures under stress. Another button press showed the destroyer Fast Strike. And here is the ammunition problem. Poor quality control in the manufacturing process. Approximately 40% of their missiles have defective guidance systems. Admiral Keithmore stared at the display in shock. This information is classified at the highest levels. It is impossible for you to have it. We have the complete technical specifications for every ship, weapon, and piece of equipment in the Coalition military, Morrison said calmly. We know your patrol schedules, your battle plans, your research projects. We know which of your officers are corrupt, which ones are competent, and which ones are planning to retire next year. Morrison pressed another button, and the display showed Admiral Keithmore's personal file. We know that you have been having problems with your son, who wants to leave the military and become an artist. We know about your wife's illness, and we know that you have been considering retirement but cannot afford to quit yet. The Admiral's guards moved forward threateningly, but Morrison held up a hand. Please, gentlemen, this is just a conversation between professionals. He pressed another button, and the display showed a star map with red dots scattered across it. These are the locations of every Coalition military base, research facility, and command center within 100 light-years of Earth. We know their defenses, their personnel, and their weaknesses. Dr. White spoke without looking up from her tablet. We also know about the secret research projects, the time manipulation experiments, the artificial intelligence studies, the biological weapon development. All quite fascinating. Morrison looked directly at Admiral Keithmore. The question, Admiral, is what you plan to do with this information. What do you mean? You came here to destroy a coalition research vessel and blame it on pirates. Now you know that we have been monitoring your civilization for decades. You know that we have detailed intelligence on every aspect of your military and government. What will you tell your superiors when you return? Admiral Keithmore was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was much quieter than before. What do you want? Morrison smiled. Peace, Admiral. We want to be left alone. We have no interest in conquering the galaxy or destroying your civilization. We simply want Earth to remain quarantined, and we want the Coalition to stop trying to spy on us or attack us. And if the Coalition refuses? Morrison gestured to the holographic display showing Coalition fleet positions. Then the Coalition will learn that 50 years of isolation has made humanity very good at warfare. We have studied your tactics, your weapons, and your weaknesses. We know exactly how to defeat you. He paused to sip his coffee. But we would prefer not to. War is wasteful. Peace is much more efficient. Admiral Keithmore looked at his guards, then back at Morrison. You are saying that humanity has become more dangerous than we thought when we quarantined you. Much more dangerous, Morrison confirmed. The quarantine was supposed to protect the galaxy from us. Instead, it gave us 50 years to prepare for the day when the galaxy would threaten us again. Dr. White finally looked up from her tablet. The dimensional weapon that Captain Velter was carrying was based on research we abandoned 20 years ago. Too crude, too dangerous to the operator. We developed much better versions. Morrison nodded. We have weapons that make the dimensional disruptor look like a toy, but we prefer to use our most powerful weapon of all. Morrison smiled again. Mercy, Admiral. We show mercy to those who do not threaten us. It makes people wonder what we are truly capable of when we stop being merciful. Admiral Keithmore sat in silence for several minutes, staring at the holographic displays that showed everything his civilization thought was secret. His 6 arms trembled slightly as he processed what the humans had revealed. 50 years of intelligence gathering, complete technical specifications of coalition military forces, personal files on coalition officers and officials. Morrison waited patiently, sipping his coffee. Dr. White continued working on her tablet as if the most important military meeting in galactic history was just another day at work. The casual attitude of the humans was more terrifying than any threat they could have made. You have been planning this for decades, Admiral Keithmore said finally. Planning what? Morrison asked. We have not planned anything aggressive, Admiral. We have simply prepared for every possibility. You have detailed attack plans for our installations. Morrison nodded. Of course. We also have detailed defense plans for protecting them. We have evacuation procedures for civilian populations and supply routes for humanitarian aid. We plan for everything. Dr. White looked up from her tablet. Admiral, may I ask you a question? Keithmore nodded wearily. In all of our intelligence gathering, we have never found evidence that the Coalition planned to attack Earth directly. You seem content to leave us quarantined. So why do you think some Coalition officials wanted Captain Velter's weapon destroyed? The Admiral considered the question. I do not know. The orders came from the highest levels, but they made no sense. Why destroy our own research? Morrison activated another holographic display. This one showed communication records and financial transactions. Because someone in the Coalition government has been selling military secrets to the Hegemony Empire. The dimensional weapon research was going to be sold to your enemies. Velter gasped. The Hegemony Empire was the Coalition's greatest rival, a militaristic civilization that had been at war with the Coalition for over a century. That is impossible, Admiral Keithmore said. Our security is perfect. Admiral, Dr. White said gently, we have been reading your communications for 50 years. Your security has never been perfect. Morrison highlighted several transactions on the display. General Thexvar has been taking payments from Hegemony agents for 15 years. He has sold them fleet deployment schedules, weapon specifications, and research data. The dimensional weapon was supposed to be his biggest sale yet, but the weapon was flawed. Dr. White said it would kill its operators, Velter said. General Thexvar did not know that. Morrison replied. He thought he was selling a functional super weapon. When our intelligence indicated that someone was planning to steal the weapon during transport, the general decided it would be safer to destroy it and blame pirates. Admiral Keithmore stared at the evidence displayed before him. Financial records, communication intercepts, meeting schedules, everything was documented with the precision that only decades of surveillance could provide. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "Because," Morrison said, "we prefer stable neighbors. A coalition government full of traitors and spies is bad for everyone. When we return Captain Velter and his crew to you, they will have complete evidence of General Thexvar's treason. You can clean your own house." "And what do you get in return?" Morrison smiled. "Continued isolation. The coalition will announce that the dimensional weapon research was a failure and that the project has been canceled. You will officially forget that humans have advanced technology. You will continue to treat us as primitive Deathworlders who are safely locked away in their own system." "But we know the truth now." "Some of you do. The question is whether you will act on that knowledge or pretend it does not exist." Dr. White put down her tablet and looked directly at Admiral Keithmore. "Admiral, humanity does not want to conquer the galaxy. We do not want to rule over other species or destroy civilizations. We want to be left alone to develop our own society in peace." "Then why develop all these weapons?" Keithmore asked. "Because," Morrison said, "we learned long ago that the only way to guarantee peace is to be so dangerous that no one wants to fight you. We call it peace through superior firepower." Morrison activated one final display. This one showed Earth's solar system, but it was not the primitive system that Coalition records described. The space around Earth was filled with massive orbital platforms, defensive stations, and ships that dwarfed anything in the Coalition fleet. "This is what the Sol system actually looks like," Morrison said. "We have spent 50 years building the most advanced military force in the galaxy, but we have no intention of using it unless someone forces us to." Admiral Keithmore stared at the display in shock. The orbital defenses around Earth could destroy entire fleets. The ships in the human fleet were larger and more advanced than anything the Coalition had ever built. "You could have conquered us at any time," he whispered. "Yes," Morrison agreed, "but conquest is expensive and difficult. It is much easier to let everyone think we are harmless and locked away. We can pursue our own development without interference, and the galaxy remains stable." "What happens now?" Velter asked. Morrison turned to the alien captain. "You and your crew will return to the Coalition with evidence of General Thexvar's treason. You will report that your ship was attacked by pirates working for the hegemony and that the dimensional weapon was destroyed in the attack. You will be heroes for surviving and exposing the traitor. And the truth about humans. The truth will be classified at the highest levels. Only a few Coalition officials will know what humanity is really capable of. The rest of the galaxy will continue to believe that we are primitive and safely quarantined." Admiral Keithmore stood up slowly. "And if I refuse to keep your secrets?" Morrison's expression did not change, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop. "Then the galaxy will learn that the quarantine was never about protecting civilization from humanity. It was about protecting humanity from the temptation to rule civilization." Dr. White spoke quietly. "Admiral, every species that has tried to conquer the galaxy has eventually fallen. Conquest is a losing strategy in the long term, but no one has ever tried ruling through strategic restraint and selective intervention. We prefer to be the power behind the throne rather than sitting on the throne itself." "It is much less work and much more effective," Morrison added. Admiral Keithmore looked around the conference room one last time, at the casual competence of the human officers, at the advanced technology that surrounded him, at the complete intelligence files on his own civilization. "I understand," he said finally. "The quarantine continues. Humanity remains isolated and forgotten, but you will be watching." "We will always be watching," Morrison confirmed. "And we will be ready to help when good people call for assistance, but we will also be ready to respond when bad people threaten peace." As Admiral Keithmore prepared to leave, Morrison handed him a small device. "This contains all the evidence you need to convict General Thexvar and his conspirators. Use it wisely." The Admiral took the device and nodded. "Captain Morrison, I have one final question." "Yes." When Captain Velter sent his distress signal to Earth, did you know what his ship was carrying? Morrison smiled one last time. Admiral, we knew about the dimensional weapon before Captain Velter's ship left port. We knew about the planned attack, about General Thexvar's involvement, and about the hegemony agents waiting to steal the technology. We have been monitoring this situation for months. Then why did you respond to the distress call? Because, Morrison said simply, good people were in danger, and when good people call for help, humans answer. That is what makes us dangerous, Admiral, not our weapons or our technology, but our willingness to act when others will not. Admiral Keithmore left the Iron Resolve with a new understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy. The Deathworlders were not locked away for the galaxy's protection. They were holding themselves back for everyone's sake, and that restraint was the most terrifying weapon of all. As the Coalition fleet departed, Velter stood beside Morrison on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, watching them go. Will they keep the secret? Velter asked. For now, Morrison replied. But secrets have a way of spreading. Someday the galaxy will know the truth about humanity. And when that day comes, Morrison looked out at the stars with tired eyes. When that day comes, we will find out if 50 years of preparation was enough.